Welcome back to the program. This is Capital Market coming your way from Channels Television. Before we proceed, let's quickly take a look at the African market, and we'll start off with a story from the Zimbabwean economy. Latest statistics from the Zimbabwean Stock Exchange has shown that shares worth $140.3 million were sold compared to foreign purchases, which amounted to $60.2 million last year. This follows the dollarization of the economy, a development that resulted in the Zimbabwean Stock Exchange recording its lowest foreign inflows in the year 2016. And you take a look at the numbers you have there on the screen. We have the Johannesburg Stock Exchange having a positive year-to-date performance with a good close from on Friday of 1.47%. Egyptian Stock Exchange continues to mount higher in its index level. Now it is still maintaining the 12,000 psychological line, as the Nairobi Stock Exchange ended the week almost in the negative territory across all indicators. The Zimbabwean Stock Exchange, contrary to what we had in terms of the foreign inflows record, was actually up beats by 12% yesterday, Friday, and its week-to-date performance looks good as well, with a month-to-date of 1.13%. The BRVM is positive in month-to-date, and the year-to-date performance is in the negative territory. Now, the Capital Market Master Plan of the Guazo-led Securities and Exchange Commission came into play in 2015, and since the introduction, the plan has had some achievements in the area of electronic dividends, share certificates dematerialization, and the reintroduction of the Capital Markets Journal, and of course the National Investors Protection Fund. Of course, this is just to mention a few of the achievements that we've seen under this administration of the Munir Guazo at the Securities and Exchange Commission. But the CEO at Lead Securities and Investments, Dolapo Ashiru, is going to be joining us right now to continue the discussion on which we started in the first segment of the show. And this time we will be focusing on regulations and, of course, enforcement in terms of expectation or outlook, if you like, in the year 2017. Now, I reeled out a couple of the achievements earlier, but one thing that the Commission is also doing now is to bring its enforcement units to Lagos, and that, I think, ties on with the clampdown that we've seen on some houses, some stockbroking firms and dealing members of the stock exchange of late. Talk to us about what your expectations will be in this area of enforcement.
First of all, it's a good idea of SEC bringing that unit back to Lagos.
Why?
And I'm seeing a lot of aggressive surveillance of activities of stock broking firms, like you pointed out earlier on.
Doesn't mean we are really seeing increase in the level of infractions in the markets?
No, it's not that we're seeing more increase. I think we're seeing more aggressive regulation going forward. Yeah.
When you say we're seeing more aggressive regulations, TransGlobe is a company that is just being investigated right now for illegal sale of shares belonging to a client. And we've also had the case of BGL. We've had some other houses as well, that are now being clamped down. I think in 2016 alone, we don't really have a record, but we saw more regulations in terms of intervention from the regulators. Is this as a result of the economic recession, or it is something else?
No, it's not because of the economic situation. It's just because SEC is more aggressive and surveillance is more aggressive than ever before. So their eyes are everywhere, and they're making sure that, because one of the first goals of the Securities and Exchange Commission is investor protection. Right. So they're taking it very, very seriously, and they're making sure that all infractions are investigated transparently and resolved transparently.
Okay, so let's also look at the issue of listings and retention in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Of course, this still relates with the regulators. We didn't see much listings last year, save for the Initiates PLC, which listed by introduction. What's your expectation this year? What's the outlook?
Yeah, we're expecting more listings this year, and I also like to point out the fact that the number of listings on the bourse, on the stock exchange, shows a growth in that exchange. So we're going to see more listings this year than last year for obvious reasons. The economy was struggling last year, but things will start turning around gradually this year. So we're seeing more listings. We're also expecting companies like MTN to also list sometime this year. And there's also some companies in the oil and gas sector that have indicated that they want to come to list on Nigerian stock.
I know one aviation company coming on board in the first quarter of this year. Let's not mention that just in case the plans change. But in terms of products, what kind of products do you think we should be looking at in the markets this year? If you look at the FMDQ OTC, for example, they are having the listings of commercial papers. Wema Bank has had its own. Sterling Bank has had its own. We've even seen the listing of ETFs. Do you think it's time for us to start having options in this market?
Yeah, options, futures and options and derivative trading is something that the Nigerian Stock Exchange is looking at, and we'll probably start seeing that towards the end of this year. We're also looking at the fact that very, very soon we're also exploring retail bonds. For example, there's an initiative by the DMO for a federal government savings bond. Yeah. So that will help, that will add to financial inclusion. For example, in Nairobi Stock Exchange, they're planning a product called M-Akiba, which is basically using your phone to buy retail bonds as a retail investor. So it's a national savings bond.
But don't you think we'll be seeing the federal government bonds crowding out the corporate bonds in the markets?
Yeah, we'll be seeing, I don't think that will be much of a problem, because the government is also looking towards borrowing externally to meet the budget deficit also. I think there's enough room for government bonds and corporate bonds in the Nigerian capital market. Okay,
so let's look at the performance of you operators in the year 2016. Talk to us about what 2016 was really like for you operators.
Well, it was a very challenging year, because we saw a lot of investors moving towards fixed income instruments as against equities. But we also saw the fact that some investors also saw opportunities, that a lot of equity counters were undervalued. So even though the market did about minus 6.1%, we saw some people that bought stocks and still made 50, 100% returns on the stocks. Good examples of that are United Capital, Seplat. People made a lot of money on those kind of stocks. So it's basically about cherry picking. Some stocks right now are undervalued for obvious reasons. So some investors are keen into that now, to knowing that by the time things start turning around, they will make a very healthy return on the investments.
Mr. Ashiru, I can read all over you that you're incurably optimistic this year. Are you expecting to make more profits in 2017 than you did in 2016?
Yes, we are, for the simple reason that we're optimistic, at least for us, at least securities investment. We're projecting a single-digit positive growth in the Nigerian All-Share Index and NSE All-Share Index. We feel that this year, that because for the last three years we had negative returns on the All-Share Index, but we're optimistic that this year we'll have at least a single-digit positive return on the All-Share Index.
On this last one, just one sentence response I need. If brokers really made money last year, why should some of them participate in sponsor schemes like MMM?
The brokers don't participate in Ponzi schemes.
But I know some people
No, the Ponzi schemes are illegal, and SEC and Nigerian Stock Exchange have made it clear. In fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission have come out severally to warn people about Ponzi schemes like MMM.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashiru, for appearing on Capital Market, the very first edition for this year. On that note, it's a wrap on the program. And of course, thank you very much for watching. I'm Temple Ashaju, and I'll see you next.